Wrestling fans, I'm Dan Marati.
And I'm Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas.
Some people think it's the best time of the week, Tuesday morning. You know what that means?
It's Tony time.
Our brand new Wrestling Insiders is next.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marati, joined by my good friend,
Barry Darso.
Future WWE Hall of Famer Barry Darso. Demolition Smash, Crusher Khrushchev, Blacktop Bully.
Zaramongo.
You were a Mongol?
Man Mountain Darso. Yeah, I was a Mongol.
I never knew that.
Yeah, when I first got in the business, I went to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Worked for
Maivias?
Mrs. Maivia.
Yeah.
And they were trying to figure out a gimmick back then. And Mark Lewin, he came up with the gimmick, said shave your head and have a little ponytail, and so I was a Mongol.
Maniac
Mongol.
Maniac Mark Lewin is a heel that I don't think many modern day fans would be familiar with, but he was a great heel.
Oh my God, what a heel. The look on his face, the everything, body, unbelievable body on him. Just, he helped me out a lot when I first got in the business in Hawaii.
He became the Purple Haze as time went on. He had a big run down in Florida with
Him and
some
Kevin
of
Sullivan.
Kevin's crazy ideas that he brought to life. God only knows what was going on in his mind when he created them, but they were creative, if nothing else.
But Mark was a really, really good guy.
Unbelievable. Well, we broke the big news back in the summertime, Barry. We're going to have you on a rotating basis here in the studio with you, Demolition Axe Bill Eadie, amongst other wrestling greats. But I always like to see what the fans want to know. Because again, if we don't take care of wrestling fans, if you don't listen to wrestling fans, again, I continue to think that's Paul Bearer sending some kind of a signal to us. Well, Paul was here over in that corner with us before, Matt Bourne. We've had a few deceased individuals in the wrestling business in this studio, so you never know who may be playing a rib. Back to the point I think I was trying to make was, we got a lot of great content we're trying to produce with wrestling greats. We're going to have you as hopefully a regular panelist here on the show to talk about different topics, but the wrestling fans, that was my point, because if it wasn't for you guys, we really wouldn't have much to talk about. No one would really care.
Yeah, and it's been so long since I've been on in front of a camera, and it's pretty exciting to do this.
You're excited right now, really?
I'm fired up.
Now, you're not taking the supplements that Bill's wife got for
No.
him. Not excited like that, okay.
I need some of those.
Oh, you're not
but anyways,
the only one, brother.
It's great to be in front of the camera and talk to the fans.
Now, remember the last time we were together, back in 2014. I'm going to, unfortunately, reluctantly roll a little clip of how horrendous, and I don't look great now, but how horrendous I looked back then. A slump in a chair, who was, after you guys got dropped at the hotel, I got admitted into the hospital with the condition I suffer from, CRPS.
You were about 30 pounds heavier back then,
Oh,
too,
at
right?
least.
Well, now I took it here. I got
Well,
that,
you know what? I like to share. You know what I mean? It's almost like Lanny Poffo. He liked to share something different, though, but that's a different story for a different time. But, Barry, one thing the fans want to know, and I got to get to the bottom of this. What is it going to take? When is it going to happen? When you and Bill take your rightful spot in the WWE Hall of Fame?
I think you and every fan in the whole world is going to have to call Vince McMahon at home.
I've tweeted it.
You have tweeted it.
I don't have his home number, though.
Somebody needs to get on there, knock on the door, and go, hey, Vince, put those guys in the Hall of Fame. Why aren't they in the Hall of Fame? That's what's going to have to happen, I think.
What is the reason why we haven't seen it thus far? Why? Is it because of the big concussion lawsuit going on?
No, I think it's just because there's so many good tag teams out there, and it just hasn't came to us yet. I don't believe that you believe that.
I
don't think that they're that shallow that they would do that. I think it's really because there's great tag teams out there.
So you think, for example, this past April, Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart were inducted as the Hart Foundation, where Bret had already gone in as a single individual. You think Bret deserved to go in twice before Demolition deserved to go in once?
Well, I'm not saying they deserve it, but they do deserve it. They're a good tag team, and whoever the powers to be wants to put in there, that's who they're going to put in there. So
That's an interesting theory.
I believe it. I don't think that because of a concussion lawsuit that, really something's happened and, people are crippled by it and dying from it and all that. That's not why they wouldn't put you in the Hall of Fame. Do you really believe that?
Yes, I do.
You do believe that? I don't think so. I just don't think. I always think the positive.
You're a real positive guy.
I think
that's why
good
everybody
things,
likes you.
I think good things about everybody, and I think when it's our time to be in there, we'll be in there no matter if there's a lawsuit or not.
Well, I'll tell you this. Let's eliminate the thought of the lawsuit. It's an embarrassment that you guys are not in WWE Hall of Fame. You can argue it a little bit, but more often than not, you guys are the greatest tag team in that company's history.
I really, really appreciate that. And, a lot of the fans that we talk to and sign autographs, they always ask that same thing. When are you going to be in the Hall of Fame? Well, it's not up to us. It's up to the office and the powers to be. So when they're ready to put us in, they'll put us in.
I would like to see someday, I know there are different wrestling Hall of Fames that exist, but WWE to have a much more structured system as far as who they put in and why. I mean, look at how many years it took for poor Bruno Sammartino to go in. But Bruno didn't want to go in, so you can respect that. But how do you have a WWE Hall of Fame without Bruno going in first?
Yeah, I don't know, but I'll tell you, Dave Hero's territory over in Wisconsin, he put us in the Hall of Fame, and I believe that's a real Hall of Fame.
Now, why is that?
Because it's real, it's just the thought process of he thought that we were one of the best tag teams around. That's why we went in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I'll tell you this. I was so happy to be with you out in Las Vegas for the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion. It's not a Hall of Fame, but you and Bill, I said it right this time, were presented with one of the Lifetime Achievement Awards. And what a better tag team.
Oh, what
Two
an
great
honor.
guys. And my favorite place to go outside of when I take the kids to Orlando on some of those vacations, I'm talking Las Vegas, Nevada, fun in the sun with the king of sports, professional wrestling. You can't lose. And it was, other than Bill not being there, it was a great night.
What an honor, the Cauliflower Alley, to do that. Oh,
Yeah.
it's huge. And I wish I could go to every one of those. I wish they wouldn't have them in the middle of the week like we were talking about. Why don't they have them on the weekends?
You're going to have to talk to the Sheik's buddy, Brian Blair, about
Brian
that.
Blair. Yeah, Brian, why don't you have the Cauliflower Alley on the weekend instead of during the week?
It used to be on the weekends. When I first started going to Las Vegas, they were always on the weekend. But I think we were talking about at lunch or at some point today, they found it to be more cost-friendly for the folks to come in. I think it's only, this year it was $43 per night on the weeknight for the hotel. And it can be a little bit more pricey, but it's bounced from even casino to casino over the years. I don't know if you're familiar with the old Riviera that got torn down, but it was the first one I went to in Vegas was out there, and that had such beautiful sight lines. It was up high in the casino, and you could see the mountains at sunset, and it was a really nice visual. At the Gold Coast where it is now, it's more of a ballroom, but it's a great atmosphere to be in. Be around all the guys in kind of a more relaxed atmosphere than a Hall of Fame.
You've kind of gone to every one of the Cauliflowers, haven't you?
I went to the first one, believe it or not, way back when they did a couple on the East Coast in Newark, New Jersey in 1995. I think I was in the 9th grade. And it was funny, they played a rib on me. I went down with Boston bad boy Tony Rumble and two of the guys. And they said, well, you know what we'll do? You do the camera for the first half of the ceremony. Then we'll tag out, you can eat your dinner, and we'll send up one of the other ones. Well, guess what happened halfway through the ceremony as I'm waiting for someone to come up and relieve me of my duties? No one ever came up. So I guess that was the price I had to be so lucky to get down to New Jersey as a high school kid and be around. I mean, I met that one night, Lou Thez. Gorilla Monsoon pulled up in his car that had the kayfabe license plate on it. Pedro Morales, Captain Lou, who I'd already known. But, cool to see him again. And let me tell you, he had a few beverages that night.
Yeah, I've been a wrestling mark all my life. And before I got in the business, it was Baron von Raschke and, Larry Hennig and Vern Gagne. And then I got into wrestling, and I was still a wrestling mark. And it kept going on. And then the Cauliflower Alley deal that I went to, Larry Hennig was speaking at it. What an incredible talker.
That was so
entertaining.
Much fun.
He is just fantastic, unbelievable.
And I tell you, it made my soul sad when we found out Larry passed away in December.
Terrible.
We just had him with us in New Orleans as part of WrestleMania 34 weekend, and his wife Irene is just literally, I think, one of the nicest human beings I've ever met.
Yeah,
I think everybody, and I love my grandmother quite a bit, But I think everyone should wish they had a grandmother like Irene Hennig. If they were going to write a sitcom on a television show about what a grandma should be like, it should be like Irene Hennig. And I don't like a lot of people, Barry.
And Grandma, I think, was the one who kept that whole family together, and it was just, the Hennig family's incredible. You know, I've known, you know, Kurt and his brother and Sandy, you know, all of our life I grew up right.
Now, was Sandy a sister or?
Sister,
Okay.
yeah.
I didn't know, I know there were 4 of them, I just didn't know
lots
the others'
of
names.
Hennigs out there.
I know there were so many grandkids, Larry had to call them by number instead of name. That was the easiest way for him to remember them. But you know what, who knows when Larry Hennig is going to come up again in some of our conversations on this show. But just to share with some of the folks the conversations that come up on some of the crazy car rides as we go city to city, state to state, sometimes in your case, country to country. Share the story with folks that you shared with me last night coming from the airport about Larry Hennig when you went over to pick up Kurt. He invited you to see his pets. I thought that was a great story.
Oh, unbelievable. So he lived on a lake. It was out kind of by Zimmerman.
Now, this is Larry's house.
Larry's.
But Kurt was there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Larry says, hey, let's go down. I want to show you my pets. And I'm thinking, pets? We're out in the kind of the middle of nowhere. And he walks me out in the dock. And he's got some dog food. And he throws it out in the lake. And there's about 1,000 fish that come up and start eating this dog food. And when I'm talking about thousands, it was thousands.
Really?
Then they used to feed him bread, and he'd feed the bread right out of his hand. It was just incredible.
That really is God's country up there.
Oh,
I
just
got to spend some
beautiful.
time in Minnesota.
What a place to go fishing. Throw your line in there, you can sure catch them fast, you know.
Well, I tell you, I thought that story was going to lead to a rib where he had said
It wasn't. It was the truth.
he had some pit bull in the backyard that was going to jump you once he threw the dog food or something. It was actually a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
Just trying to imagine all those fish.
He fed those fish every day, same time every day.
Well, that's a nice retirement, something
Yeah.
to look forward to like that, almost like Tony Soprano with the ducks on
Yeah,
the TV
yeah,
show, right?
yeah.
Only he didn't have thousands of ducks, so
Yeah.
maybe he would have really needed the psychiatrist. But Larry Hennig, great guy. We
What a
missed
good
him.
guy. What
We
a good
inserted a little video, I think, from Las Vegas as you and I were talking about Larry. We miss him. I miss so many of the greats.
Oh, I miss Kurt too, big time. And
I remember
Rick Rude and
when Kurt passed, we had an event late that weekend with Paul Bearer, and he was very, very close with Kurt. And he had some sad insight into his passing. I think Kurt was in his early 40s when he passed away.
yeah. Oh, Kurt, what a good guy Kurt was.
I think I may have met him only one time, and only in a, hi, nice to meet you, respectful type way. Not that I ever sat down and had a conversation with him like this, but I bet we would have had some good stories with him too.
Oh yeah, I trained with Kurt in the gym a lot, and when
Now,
Kurt,
did you guys live close by?
yeah, lived close by, but he was just getting in the business, so he wanted to grow and start training and work out a little harder. So he finally got in the business, and then I was getting trained by Eddie Sharkey at the time, and I called up Kurt and said, hey, Kurt, I got my first shot in Hawaii with Mrs. Maivia. And he says, oh, congratulations. I said, I have no wrestling trunks, and I got to leave in about 2 days. And he says to me, he goes,
You didn't have any trunks?
I had no wrestling
Really?
trunks to go, all I wore was long pants, and So anyways, he goes, yeah, I'll get you a pair, no problem. So he gets me this pair of trunks. They were black with a red and blue stripe. I'll never forget it because it's the first pair of trunks I had. So I have these trunks, I wear them and a couple other pairs and everything, and I didn't know that Kurt took these trunks out of Larry's drawer. These were Larry's best pair of wrestling trunks that he ever had. So I didn't know this at the time. So Larry kept asking Kurt, where in the world are my trunks? And Kurt says, I didn't want to say this, but Barry was over at the house one day, and he's a big fan for you. He's a real wrestling mark. He says, I saw him go in the drawer and take your tights. That's what he's telling his dad.
Oh, God.
So I don't see them on the road for about a year or 2 years. I see Larry at a town one day, and he's looking at me like he's going to kill me. And I thought, what the hell? What, is he mad at me for some reason? And I go over and, how you doing, Larry? And he just didn't say a word to me. So about, 2 months later, I see Kurt, and I go, Kurt, what's the deal with your dad? He didn't even talk to me or nothing. He goes, I don't know. Usually he must have been in a bad mood or something. So then Larry talks to Kurt and says, Kurt, I can't believe you stole my trunks. Those were my best
This
trunks.
is 2 years later now?
Yeah.
This is still a talk?
Yeah, so I'm on the road. I mean, he must be just burning up, this dang Darso, what an ass, So anyways, so I say to Kurt again, I said, Kurt, I saw your dad again, and you don't even talk to me. So then Kurt goes, I told him you stole his trunks. Those were his best. I said, you got to be kidding me. Remember at Cauliflower Alley I was talking about?
Yeah, I remember you. Yeah, you
True
mentioned that story.
And I told Larry, I said, it wasn't me. It was Kurt. Kurt took them out and gave them to me.
Now, Larry is a smart guy. Larry knows the prankster that Kurt Hennig was. How did he fall for it for so long?
You believe what your son says.
There you go. Did you ever give him the tights back?
No, I didn't. I wasn't gonna. I still got the tights.
Did he ever see you in the tights? When you ran into him in the other towns, were you still wearing them?
No, I wasn't wearing them in front of him. I didn't want to do that. But my first pair of tights, he thought I stole them.
That's the type of fun I don't think the wrestling fans at home understand exists when wrestling is at its best. There's a lot of stresses, there's a lot of opinions, there's a lot of conflict sometimes and politics that go on behind the scenes. But the fun and the ribs and the joking and the memories like that, that's what makes wrestling at its best to me.
Well, it wasn't fun at the time. It's fun now.
Now, what do you mean?
Well, I was scared to death that Larry was going to kill me when he found out that I stole his trunks.
Did you ever have a rational conversation with him later on?
Yeah, later on.
Okay, later on.
And we were laughing about it. But, it's a good story to tell.
It is a good story. I laughed out loud at it.
He really thought I stole them, though.
Did he?
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised he wasn't even a little more hot with you than he was.
Yeah.
They had, that was it, the 22-inch neck.
Kurt had some good ribs, though. Oh.
And I tell you, Tony Atlas has told some stories. When he'd hit you, he'd hit the shit out of you in the ring. So maybe you were lucky you didn't have to work with him.
I'm glad I didn't have to work with him after that.
Oh, that's funny. I tell you, wrestling fans, again, I want to kind of circle back to where we came from. If you're a wrestling fan at home, Barry, you would suggest maybe the fans reach out to a company like WWE that listens to its fan base. Let them know they want to see Demolition in the Hall of Fame. I don't think the resume speaks for itself. It speaks very loudly, in my opinion. I want to see it happen.
I appreciate that. But,
you know what I think.
And it's, I think we've worked hard. We've done everything that we've had to do. It's not up to us. It's up to them.
Well, what's funny? We were at the day we're taping this, we were at the New England Fan Fest down in Warwick, Rhode Island, and adjacent to us there was a table of some former WWE superstars, all of which were in the Hall of Fame. And Bill leaned over to me and he goes, "Do you know what they are?" I said, "What?" He said, "They look like a trio of white Virgils."
Who were those guys?
Well, I think we should bury him on the... one of them wasn't looking too happy, but that's a different story for a different time. But I'm going to hold out hope that one of these WrestleMania weekends, I'm going to, at the speed I move trying to get out of my seat to applaud, your speech will probably be over. But I'm going to at least attempt to get up and applaud for you to come out, because it'll be a great night for me.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
There are very few inductees that have had that much of a personal interest to me. Sue Aitchison this year. That meant the world to me to see her come out. And funny enough, Road Dogg went in this year. He headlined the first few MWF events we had before he ran into some of his substance abuse problems. So it was good to see him go in. Paul Bearer, even though he had passed away by the time they put him in, that pulled on the strings of my heart. And then going to Los Angeles with Sheiky Baby and having him tell me the wrong hotel to go to before the ceremony, which was only $120 in cabs, but I guess that's the Sheik. The memories and legends that we do have. Again, folks, we want to continue to solicit input from you. We want to know what you want us to talk about. Our main focus is going to be 1989, 1990. It was such an interesting period in professional wrestling, such a successful period in professional wrestling. And then in late 1990 in WWF, it turned into a nosedive with some of the creative decisions that were made. Every WWE pay-per-view weekend, you can check us out on BostonWrestling.com. And again, join over 51,000 of your fellow wrestling fans at MWF Project X on Twitter for the man that we want to see inducted in Tampa in 2020. I'm Dan Marotti. You and yours, be well.